For the second episode of Forgotten Games, we'll be looking at another game from my childhood aside from Bakugan. Today we'll be looking at Transformers Autobots, a game released for the Nintendo DS in 2007 to cash in on the release of Michael Bay's Transformers. The DS ports are actually surprisingly good and way better than the console version. Looking at the gameplay on YouTube, it just looks like a bare bones GTA ripoff. But let me tell you, there's more to these games than meets the eye. God, that is such a stupid joke. I have a lot of nostalgia for these games. I played them to death and enjoyed every minute of it. I'd say it's even one of the best DS games ever made. I'd certainly have it compete with Super Mario 64 DS, and now that I'm replaying these games on emulation, I can say that the games hold up very well. The Nintendo DS port came in two versions, in the form of Autobots and Decepticons, sort of like Pokemon Red and Blue. Both versions have different stories, different playable characters, and a different unique location in the form of the Arctic versus Qatar. For this review, we'll be looking at the Autobots version. Don't worry, Decepticons will get its turn. Starting up the game, you have to create your own Transformer and name him whatever you want, within a short name select unfortunately. For my playthrough, I named my character Steel because I'm a serial plagiarist. Wikipedia just calls the player character creator bot, but that's boring. Anyways, when you start a new game, you are faced with a campaign mode, a multiplayer mode, and an all-spark wars mode. Since the internet doesn't work on DS emulation, I'm just going to have to focus my review solely on the campaign. I do remember playing LAN matches with my friends and brothers and we all had a blast, shooting each other all day. But since that feature's unavailable to play, I can't state whether the multiplayer holds up at all. It probably does since I enjoyed the campaign. I also never got the chance to play All Spark Wars, which from what I hear was an online multiplayer mode where you face off against players with the opposite side of the DS port. I got my first DS around 2009, where everyone had probably moved on to Revenge the Fallen, and plus I could never get my online connection to work, and the servers were probably dead at that point. With all that out of the way, let's play the campaign. The campaign starts with Steel landing on Earth, where he contacts Ironhide and informs them about his landing. Ironhide orders Steel to do a basic systems check. After getting the chance to move around, let me say, it's better than I remember. It's fluid and fast. There were almost no times where I felt the controls were unresponsive or clunky. Everything is smooth like it should be. I had a very easy time moving around in this game. The game teaches you the basics in the next few missions, and the game never felt like it was ripping control away from you. That's something you take for granted. It teaches you how to fight enemies, how to shoot, scan, and drive, and the tutorials were never annoying. They just came and went without a fuss. After this mission, the Decepticons are destroying a structure, and you are tasked with stopping them. The mission is short and there's a boss where the character from the opposite side of the DS port challenges you. A minor nitpick, but both protagonists are both voiced by Steve Blum. I kinda wish both protagonists had different voice actors, but that's just me. The game knows when to be easy and when to be hard. The game gets increasingly difficult as the game goes on. After we kill this son of a bitch, Ironhide tells you to go to Tranquility, so you proceed to drive out of Las Vegas. It's kind of a shame that we have to leave fabulous Las Vegas so early, after only 2 missions, but we can return at any time, so it's not a severe issue. We drive to Tranquility and we are contacted by Optimus Prime, voiced by Peter Cullen. His performance is exceptional despite this being a DS game. Hearing his voice is always a treat. Prime tells us to defeat the Decepticons in the area, and we do just that. If we destroy human property, we actually get unique dialogue from Prime, telling us that we failed to uphold the values of the Autobots. I thought that was a nice detail. If we succeed in our task, Optimus Prime tells us to go meet up with Bumblebee. Like in the film, Bumblebee has the annoying broken voice feature, but any dialogue in the game can be skipped. So if you don't like his broken voice, you can skip it. Thank fucking God too. But the stuff in this game that you will actually want to listen to are the radio ads Bumblebee plays. Bumblebee has a good sense of humor, and the jokes in this game are actually funny.
You can choose from dozens of vehicles, and if you act now, you can drive out of here with no money down and no payments until next year. This deal is huge!
Looking back at the Michael Bay films, the jokes in those films are either highly inappropriate, or obnoxious, or even both. In this game, order has been restored. The jokes in this game are the type of humor that is actually appropriate for a series like Transformers. The jokes are not inappropriate, nor are they blown in your face. These jokes have a certain kind of subtlety to them, and the jokes aren't the main focus of the story. So far, the DS game is actually proving to be better than the movie it's based on. Bumblebee tasks you with scanning alternate vehicle modes, which bring us to another great feature. When you scan a valid vehicle mode, you can change to that vehicle in the vehicle select menu. And it isn't just land vehicles. You can stand different types of helicopters, and you can even unlock a jet. Once you get a helicopter, you'll be using that most of the game to traverse like I did, but it's nice to fuck around with different vehicles. The mission teaches you about choosing different vehicle forms, and that's another thing. All the missions are eventful and don't feel like filler. The mission after that has you scan radio towers in search of the pair of glasses with the Decepticon code in them. Like the movie, remember? But thankfully, Shia LaBeouf is nowhere to be seen in this game. There aren't any named human characters in this game, and that's another positive. Our main criticism of the Michael Bay films are that the films focus on the human characters too much. In this game, like the jokes, order has been restored. The game focuses on the Transformers first and foremost for the entire game. And thank fucking God, the game took the plot of the film and changed it so it emphasized the Transformers more than the humans. The films are called Transformers, not Humans. The mission has you scan radio towers and avoiding the humans. The mission is simple, but voice acting alone makes the mission more agonizing than it actually is. I felt paranoid while playing this mission, and the performance by Steve Blum actually made me nervous. After scanning all the towers, Bumblebee reveals the code came from Megatron, and that the Allspark is on Earth. Once again, Steve Blum's performance is great. I'm not really a fan of Steve Blum's voice, but his performance as Steel is one of the few times his voice in a game didn't feel out of place. The game also cleverly foreshadows the ending.
I've never seen Cybertron. I've always dreamed of seeing it one day.
After this mission, we get our first mission as a character other than Steel. In this mission, we go to the Witwicky residence to retrieve the pair of glasses. When we drive there, Barricade beat us to it, and we have to chase after him. The chase is surprisingly intense despite being simple, since the driving controls are really good for a portable game. Although a nitpick I have is that you can drive in front of Barricade, yet he still has the same scripted path. But the boss is actually pretty good. You have to dodge Barricade's weapons, and the controls make the game both fun and fair. I was able to defeat Barricade on the second try, which surprised me because I thought you could beat him in one. The difficulty is aged well. You actually have to think when you fight the boss. It's not a mindless linear strategy. You beat the boss in numerous ways. There's variety. You can keep your distance while shooting them, you can bash them to death, or you can run around in circles dodging the enemy's projectiles. There's a lot of way you can beat all the bosses. After defeating Barricade and retrieving the glasses leave a clue to Megatron's location. Optimus decides to send Steel and Ironhide to the Arctic, where Archibald Witwicky saw Megatron 100 years earlier. There, we go to the Arctic and meet up with Ironhide. There, we are tasked with escorting the humans to Megatron's dig site disguised as a helicopter. The helicopter controls are simple and easy to learn. You can go anywhere. It feels like you have freedom to move anywhere. Left, right, up and down. This escort mission is probably the worst, but it's the only mission so far that comes close to being bad, because it's still a decent mission. All you need to do is shoot down Decepticons in the way. You might beat this in your first try or not. It really depends on skill. The mission after that, we play as Ironhide as we defeat the Decepticons trying to free Megatron. When we get inside the dig site, we find out that Megatron's gone. So Ironhide has a look around and finds the Project Iceman file, discovering that a secret division of the American government called Sector 7 has Megatron. The following mission has Ironhide and Steel travel to a radio tower to transmit the information to Prime. The thing that sticks out about this mission is that you can get loads of XP by repeating this mission over and over again. And it never gets old because until you reach max level, you always get something out of it. This mission also has a tricky segment where you have to protect Ironhide from Decepticons, where you really have to do everything to protect him from enemies. You will not protect him the first time, so be very careful. The mission after that is another boss, Starscream, where you once again beat the shit out of him, and once again you have to use your head to beat him. After defeating him, Starscream flies away like a coward, and Optimus orders the pair back to Tranquility, where Steel flies Ironhide to the place. The following mission has you play as Bumblebee, where Optimus orders Bumblebee to destroy Sector 7's anti-aircraft, so they won't be able to shoot down the Autobots when they land on Earth. The following mission is actually quite hard, but I actually felt my failure was my own fault rather than the game's fault. Once again, it's fun and fair. What you have to do is destroy a set of turrets before moving on to the next one. You have to be careful about how you approach it, because if you do the mission without a strategy, you'll die. After this, the Autobots land on Earth and meet up with the city's junkyard, where everyone is accounted for. We meet two new characters, Jazz and Ratchet. Optimus tasks Jazz with locating Sector 7's headquarters, and that's where the next mission comes around. As Jazz, you have to grab a vehicle belonging to Sector 7 and basically bring them back to Prime. You can't drive back to Prime as you are carrying the vehicle, so you have to avoid Sector 7 and lose the least amount of damage possible. Eventually, we get another boss in the form of Blackout. The strategy to defeating him is open-ended, and it relies a lot on skill. If you defeat him, he flies away and you return to Prime, who gathers the others and tells everyone the location of Sector 7, a place called the Hoover Dam. To get to the Hoover Dam, someone must create a distraction to allow everyone else to get there safely. You play as Bumblebee in this mission, and start your classic GTA rampage, and let me say, this is a surprisingly fun gameplay mechanic. It replicates everything GTA does, and still manages to retain the same basic rules. The higher you go, the more difficult it becomes. It's a little easier seeing how you're a Transformer, but still. What you basically have to do in this mission is perform 3 successful rampages. It gets harder and harder each time. When you're done, it turns out Steel tried to come in on the fun and ends up screwing up. Bumblebee sacrifices himself for the greater good and is captured by Sector 7 in an actually heart-wrenching scene. Steel goes back to the other Autobots and informs them of Bumblebee's capture. Ironhide scolds Steel for trying to show off and insults Optimus Prime. Jazz tells Ironhide to piss off, and the Optimus and the crew go to the Hoover Dam. The following mission consists of avoiding Sector 7 and locating Bumblebee and the Allspark as Jazz. I remember playing this level when I was younger and found it so hard. Nowadays the level is easier, but not so easy to the point of it being a walk in the park. You have to avoid bumping into Sector 7 vehicles patrolling the highway, and then scan data to defend yourself during the download, then drive back to the other Autobots for an ambush. The next mission consists of finally playing as Steel again, trying to find a way to free Bumblebee. This mission is pretty easy. Just choose a flying vehicle and blast your way past turrets and guards. Bumblebee then retrieves his weapon ship, and then the Allspark in a pretty fun mission where you aren't allowed to shoot and have to rely only on melee attacks. It's a nice way to spice up the gameplay. Once you find your weapon ship, you have to find the Allspark and basically shut down the generators holding the Allspark in its place. After this, we have to escape the place before the doors shut. Afterwards, we finally get to play as Optimus Prime, leader of the Autobots. We get to escort Bumblebee and destroy everything in our way. The strategy here is to get to the blocked path before Bumblebee and destroy everything. When we encounter Barricade who wants the Allspark, when Optimus refuses, we face another boss fight. What makes this boss a little bit different from the others is that Barricade has an extra Decepticon to back him up, and also you have to protect Bumblebee since he's not invincible. So after you defeat Barricade, it turns out he was just a distraction, as we cut to Megatron's return. The Decepticon boss we killed earlier in the game greets Megatron and tells him about the plan to retrieve the Allspark. He tells Megatron about the bombs they planted around the Hoover Dam to blow it up and cause casualties which will distract the Autobots and give the Decepticons an easier time retrieving the Allspark. In an Assassin's Creed fashion, Steel and Ironhide were eavesdropping on the whole conversation and they plan to stop the Decepticons. To prevent the Decepticons from intercepting the intel they got, Ironhide personally tells Optimus about the plan to blow the dam. Optimus tells Ironhide to stop him. The mission after that then has Steel and Ironhide help each other stop the Decepticons. This mission isn't that hard to beat, but the Decepticons shooting rockets at you are kind of annoying. It's not the tedious kind of annoying, it's more like the fuck, why won't these Decepticons piss off kind of annoying. Of course we are able to save the humans. We then place Optimus again, fighting Brawl when he gets in the way. The strategy to defeat Brawl is quite unique. Beating him takes a lot of problem solving. You'll need to find a way to dodge his grenade launcher, and then when he transforms you need to slam tanks into Brawl to damage him. But you need to do it quickly as you can be knocked to the ground by the tank's rocket fire. If you manage to defeat Brawl, we're back to Tranquility one last time. In the next mission we play as Bumblebee trying to get to Ratchet. We dodge explosive cars on a time limit as we drive to Ratchet. Then as Ratchet in a one-off mission, we kill Blackout in an actually challenging boss fight. There is no optimal strategy. It relies a lot on dodging attacks and non-stop shooting. Ratchet is actually a pretty generic character when it comes to gameplay, which might explain why Blackout is so hard, but we only play one mission with him so it doesn't break the game. The second last mission has Steel help Ironhide, who's being pinned down. Getting to him is easy, but you need a lot of luck to save him, like the radio tower mission. Then we help Jazz fight off Allspark drones, which is easier, and then we get to Bumblebee who calls for help getting the Allspark to Optimus. We go to Bumblebee, fight off Decepticons, and then bring the Allspark to Optimus, but then Megatron shows up and steals the Allspark. He lets Optimus live so that he can watch him turn Earth into a Fallout Mad Max wasteland as he flies away. Optimus decides to confront Megatron alone, but when he tries to shoot Megatron, it does nothing and Megatron is close to killing him, if not for Steel showing up to save him. You need to get behind Megatron and backstab him multiple times and then grab the Allspark and slam it into him. Then we control Optimus Prime to finish off Megatron. Megatron is hard to kill, but a clever exploit you can do is jump on top of this building and shoot Megatron and avoid yourself from harm's way, which is kinda cheap but it works. After defeating Megatron, he warns that destroying him will destroy the Allspark as well, to which Optimus Prime kills him and destroys the Allspark. We then get our final moments with Steel.
Right. I see Cybertron. It's all around us. Here on Earth. This is our new home. The humans need us. We need them. Protect them. And they will protect us.
Your name will be remembered throughout the ages for the sacrifice you have made here today. We will never forget. I will never forget.
As the game ends, we get narration from Optimus that mirrors the film, and if they put Linkin Park at the end, this would have been the perfect ending. But as it is, it's still pretty good. And that's Transformers Autobots. As you can see, I had a lot of good to say about it. I may have been biased by nostalgia, but it's still an objectively great game, and one of the greatest tie-in games I have ever played. It told a better story than the movie, is more faithful to the source material than the movie, and the characters are more likable than the movie. With the exception of Ratchet, the characters are extremely charismatic and very interesting to see. Picking a favourite would be hard for me, as the Autobots are personality-filled and best with their own traits. Unlike the Michael Bay films, I can actually tell the characters apart unlike the 2007 movie, and they have the whole game to express their personalities. This game is what the films could have and honestly should have been like, and the fact that I preferred this portable tie-in game over the movie is saying a lot. Vicarious Visions were very likely on a limited budget to get this game done, and what they managed to create is nothing short of a DS masterpiece. Is this game perfect? Of course not. There isn't a lot to do after completing the campaign besides pointless challenges, but that's okay. Single player games usually have an endpoint where you get to reflect on what you just played. If you would like to play this game, a link will be in the description for the emulated version of Transformers Autobots. Next review will be about the other side of this game, Transformers Decepticons. This game has received a total of 8.5 out of 10. Very impressive for a tie-in game. I'm JJ Plagiarisms, and until next time, what are stories but mystery boxes?